A very warm welcome to Mining Review Africa. And today we are speaking to Peter de Villiers, who's the Gqeberha branch manager for Zest, about a topic that is having a grave impact on South Africa, including the mining sector. Yes, we are talking about load shedding and the impact it is having on our sector. But not everything is bad news. The positive news is that Zest's variable speed drives, or VSDs, can actually lessen the impact on an operation during load shedding. Peter, thank you for joining us today.
It's a pleasure. Thanks, Gerard.
Okay. Now, Peter, obviously load shedding is a massive problem in the country. Now, based on feedback from your customers, how much of an impact is it having on their operations?
Yeah, Gerard, certainly a large impact, of course. It goes without saying that there are huge disruptions to operations and the clients are losing a lot of production. But unfortunately, every now and again, you experience some damage to equipment as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, when it comes to companies that rely heavily on electric motors, what are the challenges that they face when load shedding is implemented?
Well, one of the largest challenges, of course, would be the expense if they had to resort to other energy sources, such as solar panels. You need quite a lot of panels to drive a decent sized motor. Generator sets, not very cheap. But of course, also when the energy is restored to the grid, just imagine a whole lot of machines trying to start up at the same time. Typically an electric motor will draw 6 times its normal rated current during startup. So imagine all of these machines all starting up at once. You have a lot of things tripping out and you need a lot of manpower to start everything up manually and start things up one by one so that you don't trip out your circuit breakers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Peter, serious, those are serious challenges for your customers, I'm sure. But there is some good there is some good news. Can you just tell us, how do Zest's VSDs help to lessen the impact that load shedding has on your customers' operations?
Okay, it's very simple to connect solar panels directly to a variable speed drive as an alternative energy source. You can have hybrid energy sources, so you can run from Eskom just in case you're facing a cloudy day or you need to run production at night. Of course, the panels won't help you. And you don't have this huge startup current requirement. So as stated, a machine will draw a huge amount of current when starting direct online. But with a variable speed drive, not so. You simply need the current that your load requires to start up. And you can implement functions on variable speed drives to start each other up in a sequence. They don't all have to start up at the same time. So you can, without being very labor intensive, you can just have the drives start machines up with certain time delays in between.
Okay. Now, Peter, you mentioned manual startups before, but I understand that your VSDs have automated functions that can assist during a startup following a power loss. How does this work, and can you list an example of this?
Yeah, sure. All of the WEG variable speed drives have built-in PLC capability. This means that we can program them not just to start up a motor. We can write fancy programs and make them do all kinds of things. There are timers available that we can use in the software, counters. We have extra inputs and outputs on these drives. So we can pretty much program the drive to do anything, the limit being your the sky's the limit. And let me give you an example. Let's look at a parallel pumping system where we have pumps to meet a high demand of flow and where we may need to control pressure. When you simply start up a pump direct online, sometimes this is too fast and you face cavitation. So what the variable speed drive can be programmed to do is to start up just one of the machines, run at a slower speed for a certain amount of time until the pipeline is filled. And then the variable speed drive can resort to looking at the pressure and speeding up to maintain the flow and starting the other machines up as and when required, when there's an extra demand. So you don't have a lot of machines starting at the same time. You've got a sequence start, and you're also looking after the startup process of first running at reduced speed for a certain amount of time.
Okay. Now, Peter, there's a lot of talk about dead time and the impact that it has on operations. How do Zest WEG's VSDs help to prevent equipment from tripping out during dead time?
Speed drive can be programmed for a function known as ride-through. So if there's a dead time between the grid going off and a generator starting up, you can program the drive to ride through this. The amount of time you can ride through the dead time is going to depend on the inertia of the machine, because you're going to use that to regenerate energy and use that to stay alive. But the variable speed drive will not trip out during this time. It will automatically start up again when the energy is restored and simply reaccelerate the motor.
Okay. Now, Peter, early on, you mentioned solar power, and obviously a lot of, particularly mining operations, have now installed hybrid power systems. How do your VSDs operate in these operations? And how does this help your customers to become more energy efficient as well as to help reduce their carbon footprint?
A variable speed drive will simply rectify the AC power supply. And the DC link, as we call it, at the end of this rectifier, is available on power terminals, where you can then very simply and easily connect solar panels. And what you can then do is you can design the voltage from the solar panels to exceed the voltage that you'd get on the DC link after rectifying Eskom's supplies, so that your variable speed drive will draw current from the panels when available, and then only need to draw energy from Eskom when it's a cloudy day or you're running at night. So it's very, very easy to implement these alternative energy sources, renewables. But we have to mention a couple of other things too. You're talking about efficiency, and we have some huge advantages with variable speed drives, because not only can you then use these hybrid power supplies, draw energy from here when available and from there when available, but variable speed drives also reduce this huge startup demand, and there is no phase shift between voltage and current. So the phase shift power factor is unity when you use variable speed drives. And also, when you're running direct online and you want to control flow, temperature, pressure, whatever your operation involves, you would use valves and throttles, and that would just be a huge wastage of energy. If you can control the motor's speed, then you can simply reduce the speed when demand is less. The energy savings from that would be huge, because the electrical formula for power is a multiplication of voltage and current. So you're going to reduce the voltage when you slow down an electric motor. And as you can see from this formula, you will use a lot less energy. But most of our electric motor applications are pumps. And the pump curve shows you that as you reduce speed, you need a lot less current, a lot less torque to turn the pumps. So if voltage and current is being reduced rather than throttling flow, you are saving huge amounts of energy. So there is that huge advantage. Now, of course, if we're going to talk about greenhouse gases, we mostly burning coal and That's where Eskom mostly generates electricity from. Just imagine that we have variable speed drives controlling every single electric motor. How much energy we're going to save? We're going to reduce the startup to that huge extent, all of these machines starting up. We're going to reduce the voltage and the current, so we're consuming a lot less energy. So imagine how much less coal we're going to burn. In fact, if every single motor is driven by a variable speed drive, we may very well get rid of load shedding altogether.
Wow, Peter, that's something that I'm sure all companies and in fact all South Africans would love to see the end of.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Peter de Villiers, Quebec branch manager for Zest WEG. Thank you very much for your insights today on this pertinent topic, and thank you for joining us on Mining Review Africa.
It's a big pleasure. Have a great day.